All indications are pointing towards a ceasefire agreement, a ceasefire deal to end the conflict in the Middle East right now. The signs are pointing to that. There's a lot of things to look at with a tad of skepticism because the president has not come out and confirmed anything. He has not said he has signed anything. But if you look here, this is the price of oil going back. And as of today, the price of oil this morning reached almost $95 a barrel. And it looks like right now the price of oil is bottoming out close to $87, $88 a barrel. So almost a $7 drop on a barrel of oil. Now, comes on the eve of a major announcement that could be seen as a ceasefire deal. There's multiple reports confirming that. We have to take some of them with a grain of salt because at the same time of all this happening, Iran has just said that 26 vessels have passed through the Strait of Hormuz in the last 24 hours. And that would lead me to believe that this blockade by the United States and the IRGC, now they've had some skirmishes back and forth. I don't know how much to believe, how much to not believe. I'm going to be as skeptical as you are. And I know there's many of you that have skepticism, maybe some burnout, some fatigue about what's happening. But right now, this morning, 10:57 a.m., 26 vessels had passed through the Strait of Hormuz past 24 hours. Let's say 1 million barrels per vessel. That's 26 million barrels of oil. Let's just say that it was all oil. There's no way to confirm that, but that is a good indicator that something is happening in the Middle East. Oil prices are dropping. The flow of traffic is improving. And apparently, now this is where my skeptical hat comes in. Axios has reported the U.S. and Iran have reached a tentative agreement pending President Trump's final approval. Now, Axios has not been the most accurate news source, so I am not going to bet anything on their reporting. We've been here before. It says here, let's wait for official confirmation from Iran and the White House. And I believe a lot of this, there are people behind the scenes that don't want this deal to be successful. There's people behind the scenes that are losing money buying oil futures because they bought low when oil was about $65, $70 a barrel. It went up over the $100 mark and they made a lot of money. And they had a huge ROI on that investment. And now that it looks like oil has dropped $7 a barrel in the space of, 5 hours, there's a lot of people losing money. And the people that are losing money do not necessarily want the same thing you and I do. They can afford $10 a gallon gas. They can afford $9 a gallon of oil. They can afford that because they live in a different class of system than we do. No, I'm like you. I bought gas for my truck today. It cost me about $85 to fill it up. But hopefully the reporting coming out has some light to it. According to Barrick Ravid for Axios, citing 2 U.S. officials, a 60-day memorandum of understanding has been agreed upon by the U.S. and Iranian negotiating teams. Currently awaits the approval of the President of the United States. Per the report, the MOU will include a statement that maritime traffic through the Strait of Hormuz will be unrestricted. The gradual lifting of the blockade of vessels traveling to and from Iranian ports that would commensurate to the increase of free maritime traffic. If this is true, this is Iran surrounded in red here. If this is true, this is monumental. I think Iran is trapped right now. They are running out of money. They're losing $400+ million a day while the strait remains closed. That's not a normal country that can operate like that. There's very few economies that can lose $400 million a day and still be able to pay their police, fire, military, IRGC, and all of the money that they owe China.
60-day MOE, they call it, a memorandum of understanding between the United States and Iran, reportedly would include, quote, unrestricted shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. The president obviously very focused on that. It's an international waterway. No one can control it, says the president. They also want the United States a pledge from Iran not to pursue nuclear weapons or enriched uranium that would produce them. Also, the lifting of the naval blockade, that comes from Axios. That's what Iran wants. They want that blockade to be gone. Before we bring in retired Brigadier General.
So you see here, this is the outline. If the president can get all of these on the table, pen to ink, paper to pen, 60-day ceasefire agreement, unrestricted Strait of Hormuz shipping, no tolls. Iran moves the Strait mines, which they said they didn't know where they were at. U.S. naval blockade lifted with conditions. They will stay on station to confirm that Iran is meeting these requirements, and Iran pledges no nuclear weapons and turning over some of this nuclear dust. Now, like I said, Iran pushes back on the claims deal with the U.S. has done. A source close to the negotiating team told the draft framework agreement is not yet final, and the Pakistani mediator has not been notified of any completion. So there's a lot of smoke and mirrors surrounding this. But if this is something that happens, it's huge. Now, there's a couple of things that are occurring at the same time, and this leads me further to believe that the IRGC is one of these factions that does not want a peace deal. And this is a report coming out now. Iran shot down an American drone about 2 hours ago near Bushehr province. You can see that marked here on the map. So if the IRGC, if Iran, if Tehran are wanting to confirm a deal, then why are they shooting down American drones? These MQ-9, probably a Reaper drone that is flying very closely to Karg Island. And I believe the reason they're flying close to Karg Island is to ensure that the Iranians are not moving other goods here. So here's Bushehr, here is Karg Island right here. That's close proximity. And also just across the water from Kuwait City, where the Iranians launched an airstrike last night. This is a little more information here. According to Iran's state-backed news outlet, Fars, earlier, Iran fired off a number of missiles from its southern regions into the Strait of Hormuz locality, citing Iranian sources say that some of the targets may be U.S. vessels. So the president and his team are trying to negotiate a deal. There's a faction of the IRGC that doesn't want this, continue to launch attacks, escalate these things. And I'm not sure how we get there. But at the same time, the USS Abraham Lincoln, CVN-72, is conducting flight operations very close there. And I think this is kind of a flex from the United States Navy, U.S. military, that, hey, we watch what you're doing. We see what you're doing. We are not leaving. We are going to be on hot standby. We are going to be there. I look like an AWACS. They are going to be there monitoring and peering over your shoulder. No matter what you agree to in writing, we don't trust you, but we're going to verify what you're doing. Earlier today as well, Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, comes out and made it very clear what the president.
The teams have been going back and forth, and President Trump has made it very clear. He talked about it at the cabinet meeting that he has several red lines, and Iran has to turn over their highly enriched uranium. They cannot pursue a nuclear weapon, and the Strait of Hormuz, back to your question on energy, has to free transit. Navigation of the seas has to be free and open as it was before. So he's not going to take a bad deal. He's going to make a great deal for the American people.
That's the important thing there. He's going to make a great deal for the American people. Oil prices start to plummet. free flow of goods and services. We get that fertilizer tracking through there. We get relief to our farmers. We get relief to you and I that are putting gas in our tanks. It lowers the cost of gas here. It lowers the demand here in the United States, even though we have a reduced amount of refineries. But that's what we're after. This is a live tracking site of shipping traffic in the Strait of Hormuz. I want you to pay attention to something here. The green vessels, the green arrows are underway. And I want you to look at the large contingency of green tankers and container ships around Bandar Abbas. Now, this is a major depot for the Iranians around the Strait of Hormuz. So that tells me there's a lot of them that are full of oil after just getting loaded up there in Bandar Abbas, and they're trying to get out of the strait, trying to get out of the Gulf of Oman, and try to get to deliver this. The other thing I see here is a lot of red container ships and tankers loitering in this area around Kuwait City. And the Iranians know the more oil that they can't sell, the more that Kuwait does, the more money Kuwait is making. So there is a large number of ships at anchor, this red dots there, and hopefully they get filled up and get out of the strait as soon as possible. The sooner that happens, the sooner you and I can afford some longer road trips. Now, I know this is taken well past Memorial Day weekend, but, you know, that's where we've got to go. And I'm seeing right now the latest sort of news coming in. Axios claims U.S. and Iran have reached a deal. We don't know anything enough to trust Axios. Wall Street Journal is also saying it's within reach. Bessent told reporters Thursday, but Trump has yet to sign off on it. More information. Pakistan is going to offer the transfer of Iranian uranium to Beijing under international control. Now, this could be a hang-up. I don't know if the president of the United States, and he said it in his briefing, is comfortable with giving the uranium to the Chinese. This is just another enemy that we might have to deal with later. This is another enemy that might very well use this uranium in some future conflicts with Taiwan. I believe the whole goal is to recover this uranium, and whether or not they want to admit it, they want to get this back and trace this to see where this uranium was from, measure the isotopes. It's kind of like a fingerprint for this reactive material, and trace back to see if this is something that was given to the Iranians under the Obama administration when Hillary Clinton was the Secretary of War. Only time will tell, but we're going to keep plugging away. We're going to keep chipping away at the truth because the news media refuses to do that without some level of partisanship. Let's hope this deal gets done. Let's hope we get some relief on our gas tanks at our kitchen tables. Let's hope the farmers get that fertilizer in the field. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.